This time of the year when the fish start moving into the shallows, one of the baits that immediately comes to mind to target them is a spinnerbait. Now, spinnerbait is one of my favorite baits to throw. It's, thought of as a spring presentation, but the spinnerbait is an amazing bait for year-round success if you choose the right ones. So today, we're gonna break down my favorite spinnerbaits, the trailers that I'll put on them, the gear we use to throw them, so that you can catch more spinnerbait fish. So if you're ready, let's do it. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle. The Hookup Tackle is the world's largest showcase of Megabass products, featuring baits and colors not found at any other dealer. The Hookup also offers a wide display of OSP, Evergreen, Deps, Lucky Craft, Jackal, and many more. The Hookup Tackle is owned and operated by family, is staffed by guides and verified tackle nerds who love helping anglers elevate their craft. If you're in the Phoenix area, we'd love to have you stop by our showroom and check out the wonderful world of Megabass and the Hookup for yourself. If you shop online, there are almost 10,000 SKUs of Megabass products alone, with hundreds of other companies and new products being added daily. So next time you're looking for that hard to find bait, that color your fish have never seen before, or maybe you just want to elevate your game, look at thehookuptackle.com. Welcome back, my friends. I am Ben with the Hookup Tackle, aka the Tackle Otaku. My buddy Jeffrey the King is here with me. We are the Hookup Tackle USA. Today, we are talking about spinnerbaits. It seems weird that we haven't had this conversation yet, Jeff.
Weird, right?
It is, yeah, because we throw spinnerbaits a lot, and for whatever reason, we just have never really thought to break this down. So we were thinking of some timely topics, and of course, spinnerbait comes to mind, right? It's getting warm outside, the fish are moving into the brush. A lot of you guys live in lakes that are flooding and filling with water, and a spinnerbait is just a very effective way to pick apart shallow water and to catch them really well. So what we decided to do today is I am basically going to break down my spinnerbait strategy, the baits that are in my box, when to use trailers, when not to use trailers, kind of my thought process with that, show you the rod, the reel, all that kind of stuff, so that hopefully it can answer some questions that you guys may have on spinnerbaits. So first of all, just to make sure we're all on the same page, just in case there's any newcomers here, if you guys are new to bass fishing, this is a spinnerbait. So a spinnerbait is essentially a chunk of lead, some wire coming out, a couple of blades, some skirt material. As it swims through the water, those blades are going to spin around. It's basically going to look like a bait fish kind of coming through the water. What makes a spinnerbait very effective, and it's usually thought of as a shallow technique, is that it's a really great bait to come up and over brush, through cover, throw it around wood and trees and that kind of stuff. And it's relatively snagless, just based on the design with that wire to kind of come up and over cover. Now, out here in Arizona, fortunately we have seasons where the fish move shallow, but we also have a lot of really clear waters. And a lot of time the fish are in deeper water, offshore structure. So spinnerbaits for us can be anywhere from the surface all the way out to 30, 40, sometimes even 50 feet, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break down my approach on spinnerbaits, and I basically break down spinnerbaits into three separate categories. I have an all-around category, so this is a spinnerbait that I will put on, and I just want to do a bunch of different shit with it. I want to throw it shallow, I want to fish it really fast, I want to kind of slow it down, I want to slow roll it. I want to fish it anywhere from the bank down to maybe that 10 to 15 foot range and just be able to do a lot of different things, okay? That's category one. Category two are my burning spinnerbaits. These are spinnerbaits that I want to fish really fast. I want to fish them usually generally high in the column. I want to fish them very quick, get a real aggressive reaction strike out of them. Category three are my slow roll or my bottom contact spinnerbaits. So these are baits that I want to keep closer to the bottom. I want to slowly crawl them down along more of the rocks and the deeper trees, creek channels, bends, flat breaks, that kind of stuff, in anywhere from that 10 to 30 foot range, okay? So let's start first with all-around spinnerbaits, okay? So this is, if I, was just going out, I had no idea what was happening, I just needed to pick a spinnerbait. These are the ones that I choose to go with. So first up for me is one of my favorite spinnerbaits. This is the OSP High Pitcher Max. Okay, now this is a spinnerbait that doesn't get a lot of press. It doesn't get, you're not going to see a lot of people throwing this. It's relatively unknown here in the US. You go to Japan, everybody throws it, right? So it's just an amazing spinnerbait. This spinnerbait has everything you need to have in a spinnerbait. It's got a, thin enough wire and a heavy enough wire to be very versatile in almost everything you're going to do. While we're talking about wire, the thinner the wire here, typically the harder the bait is going to vibrate, right? These blades are going to vibrate a little harder to give out a little more transmission. The thicker the wire, the more durable it tends to be. So you kind of have to find this balance. Do you want a real heavy wire that's not going to vibrate as hard? Do you want a real light wire that's going to vibrate super hard but it's not going to be really durable, right? This is kind of the spinnerbait balance. So in my all-around spinnerbaits, these are just good all-around, sizes. Head design is designed to fish just kind of standard spinnerbait. It could go slow, it can go fast, it can go medium speed, right? Just everything about it is just designed to just kind of cast and wind. Okay, it's got great blades, it's got welded eyes, so all the components are going to be really high-end and the fish smoke it. Just a really great all-around bait. So this is generally my starting point. 1/2 ounce, 5/8 ounce, something like that is generally where I start. I can go up to 3/4 if I need to fish it a little bit deeper or faster. I can go down to 3/8 if I need to, fish it really slow but keep it high. So OSP High Pitcher Max, starting point. Another one that's been in my box for literally decades and is still one of my favorites is just the old school War Eagle spinnerbait. Okay, so these are the two I throw. I throw just a standard War Eagle double willow, and then sometimes I'll go to the Screaming Eagle. The difference is the Screaming Eagle is more of a compact spinnerbait. So you'll notice that it has the lead kind of extends down the shank of the spinnerbait. So it still weighs the same. Like these are both 1/2 ounce spinnerbaits, but this one is just a much smaller package. So when I need to kind of shrink the profile, I can go here. When I don't need to shrink the profile, then I just throw the standard, just everyday War Eagle double willow. And again, kind of the same thing we just talked about with the OSP. It's just got all the right things. The wire's heavy enough and light enough. It's the right design. This design has been out for, ever, basically. And the fish still smoke it. It's got a good skirt on it. So everything you need in a spinnerbait for just kind of running down the bank is here. A lot of the features that OSP has, like the tack welded eye and that kind of stuff, you're not going to find on this guy, but this guy's going to be much cheaper also. So if you're nervous about, throwing your spinnerbait around some cover or whatever, you can get by with a War Eagle very cheaply and do really, really well. Next up for me is the burning category. And this is a category that I throw a lot, pretty much year round. So for me, when I want something that's moving very, very fast, right? I want to be able to just burn it through. I want to fish it really high in the column. This is something that I utilize a lot on really windy days, okay? If I go out to the lake and it's just glass calm, right, then typically I would throw one of those first couple spinnerbaits that we just talked about. Something I could throw out, let it kind of sink down, and just kind of slowly move it up and through the brush. More of a very neutral speed. But when I go out there and it's really windy, the wind's blowing, the shad are going, the fish are getting a little more juiced, I want something that's moving really quick, that is going to draw a reaction strike. They're going to see it flashing, and before they know what happened, they got to hit it, right? So for me, there's two very important spinnerbaits that I use for that. So the first one is made by Megabass. This is the Megabass V9 Spinnerbait. This is one of my favorite spinnerbaits, and for several reasons. All right, so the Megabass V9 is a very special design. At first look, you're going to notice that it looks quite a bit different than normal spinnerbaits. It's got these crazy bends in the wire. You'll notice that this wire is pretty light. This wire is actually incredibly hardened as well. So it's light and hard, which is going to give it a crazy tight vibration. It's got custom unique shaped blades here, right? It's going to give it a little bit different vibration. It also has a very unique head. So you notice the head is kind of cupped there in the front. What that does a couple things. A, it's going to push water, and so it's going to give it a little bit more vibration. It's also going to help it track incredibly true on a fast retrieve. okay? So what this guy is gonna do is it's just going to burn right under the surface. I can fish it really fast. I can pause it every once in a while, so I'll be burning it and I'll just pause it. And when it pauses, those blades will clack together, right? So it'll be burning, 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 and all of a sudden you'll get this kind of clack, right? So you get clack, burning, clack, burning, clack. So they're hearing the sound, they're seeing the flash, but before they've had any time to figure out what it is, they've eaten it, okay? So absolutely a deadly spinnerbait. Now, a couple things about this guy. You'll notice it does not have any type of bait keeper on it. So not really designed for throwing a trailer on this guy. It's designed for kind of fishing on its own. We'll talk a little bit more about trailers. I do have one mod on this guy that I will use sometimes, and I will show it to you. Now, back to the hardened wire. Because this wire is hardened, it's designed for maximum vibration and speed, it can be incredibly fragile. So this is not a spinnerbait that you want to boat flip bass in with, okay? Any of those first couple, that War Eagle, that high pitcher, you can boat flip those suckers in, and that wire may bend, and then you can just kind of reshape it. This is not that kind of wire. This is definitely a wire you're going to want to either net the bass, or you're going to want to actually bend down and lip the bass and pull them in. Because it's so hard, it doesn't have the capability of flexing. If you put too much pressure, it's just going to snap. And I don't want you guys to be snapping off wires on $14 spinnerbaits. I want you to get a lot of life out of them, okay? So, V9, first choice. Second bait that I throw a lot is made by a small little company out of Japan called Mibro, and this is the Apache spinnerbait. Now, a couple things that I love about Mibro. First off, it's available in a double Willow and a double Colorado. So if you guys fish a lot of muddier water, go with the double Colorado. Okay, it'll give off a lot more vibration. If you guys are fishing, clearer water, then the double Willow is a great option. So let me open this and I will break it down for you guys. All right, so here is a look at the Apache spinnerbait. So a couple things that I love about this guy. It's got a unique shape to it. It's got a really nice head that allows it to track very, very true. It's got a skirt where all the material is kind of coming out the front. So you'll notice when I fold this over, none of the material is really coming out the back of that. It's all attached to the front. So it's just going to give it a really good movement as it comes through the water. It does have a wire trailer keeper if you want to add a trailer. But really what really makes this bait special are these blades. So it's got this kind of, it's not really a true hammered, it's more of a raised type blade. So it gives a different flash. It's raised on one side, kind of pucked on the other, right? For me, and I know you can always open some of these arms up, change the blades, that kind of stuff, right? But when you start getting into some of these higher end spinnerbaits, most of the arms are going to come tack welded. So they're not really designed to be pulling stuff on and putting stuff, back on. Plus, I don't really like to tinker that much with a spinnerbait. I want to tie it on, I want to take it out of the package, I want it to be right, tie it on and use it, right? I don't have time to be changing blades, doing all that stuff. For me personally, I just don't want to spend the time. So when I can buy one that has different blades that are ready to go, this is dope. So on really sunny days, this is just going to give off a different flash, a different look than something with standard blades, okay? So it really just comes down to offering something different. So these are the two that I go with when I'm looking to just go really fast, kind of burn, cover a lot of water. Either of these would be great options for you. Okay, and then finally, for my deeper spinnerbait fishing, and deeper basically meaning closer to the bottom. Okay, it doesn't have to be deep as in depth. It doesn't have to be in 30 feet. But let's just say you want that spinnerbait to stay closer to the bottom. You want to kind of slow roll it down on the bottom so that it's just keeping it closer to where the fish are. They're not high in the column. They're not suspended in trees. They're just kind of laying on the bottom, right? These are the spinnerbaits that I go with. Now, many of you probably don't realize that both Deps and Megabass started as spinnerbait companies. Right? We think of Deps as, swim baits and, all these badass hard baits and, soft plastics. We think of Megabass as jerk baits and, rods and crankbaits and all this stuff. But both brands started as spinnerbait companies. So they have a long history in spinnerbaits. And so it's no wonder that this is where I gravitate to for my bottom spinnerbait fishing. So The two that I use a lot, the Deps B Custom has kind of been the industry standard for, you know, deep structure, slow rolling spinnerbaits, okay, for decades. And even now, it's still one of the best spinnerbaits on the market. Now, they're very expensive, okay? So that is a downside. But if you're not snagging a lot and, you know, the fish are getting a lot of pressure, it's an amazing spinnerbait, especially for like you ledge fishermen where you don't have a lot of snags to necessarily worry about. It's more rock. You guys will destroy them on the B Custom, okay? The B Custom has a very unique design. The head is a little higher up the arm, right? So it's a little shorter shank here, really designed to get to the bottom and stay at the bottom. You'll notice the head has kind of a wider shape here, right? And then kind of a triangular shape up there. So it's really designed to track, very true. It's a longer shank, so the lead comes all the way down here, almost a good 2 inches of lead, so that it maintains its stability down on the bottom. It has a little smaller hook, but it's the perfect size and the right shape. It's kind of that O'Shaughnessy bend back there. So the hookup ratio is amazing on this thing, even on a very long cast and in very deep water, okay? So it's got nice custom blades. It's got all the fancy stuff that you would expect out of an expensive spinnerbait. But really, what it does is it catches them, right? So I don't care if the spinnerbait's $5 or $25. I don't care. I just want it to work, right? And this is one of those that just flat works. So if you guys are fishing deep water and you need a very, very stable bait, the B Custom is amazing. The other one that we have added to our arsenal since its release last year is the Megabass SV3 spinnerbait. Now, the SV3 is offered in both a double willow and what they call a slow roll, which is basically just a Colorado willow option. Now, the SV3 is a smaller, more compact spinnerbait. Okay, so you notice it's a much smaller frame, you know, much tighter frame than, say, the B Custom, right? Now, a couple things to point out with the SV3, and we've talked about this bait a lot, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It has a specially designed head that they call a drag and drop head. So it's going to get to the bottom and it's going to kind of maintain that bottom contact with all the weight being below that wire. So it's just in a really amazing design to keep it on the bottom. Now, this wire is very heavy gauge. Okay, you notice I can hardly even get it to bend. So it's a super heavy gauge wire, so it's going to be very durable for pulling around through structure and obstacles. Now, to make up for the heavy wire and still give the bait vibration, they custom built blades for this that are incredibly thin. These are much thinner blades than any of the other spinnerbaits that we've talked about. So the blades themselves are going to vibrate incredibly hard to give the bait the same feel as a light wire spinnerbait, even though it's a real heavy gauge spinnerbait. Okay, has the wire trailer keeper if you guys want to add a trailer. If you don't want to add a trailer, it comes with a couple of longer strands in the skirt already, so it's kind of ready to go. Okay, so I will generally just pick the Colorado willow if I'm fishing it out deeper and really need it to maintain bottom contact. I'll pick the double willow if I want it to stay on the bottom, but I'm fishing more of that like bank to 15 foot. That's generally how I do it, but there's no right or wrong. The Colorado willow will give a little more vibration, so if the water's a little murkier, that might be a better option for you guys. The double willow is going to give just a touch more flash, so if you're clearer water, that might be a good option for you guys. All right, let's talk about trailer hooks, trailers. Are we using them? Are we not using them? So for me, when I'm fishing a spinnerbait or a buzzbait, let's talk about trailer hooks first. I generally want to take the bait out of the package and just throw it how it is, okay? Instead of adding a trailer hook right away. The reason for that is until I know the aggressiveness of the fish or how they're eating it, if they're coming up and just crushing this thing, I don't want a whole extra hook dangling behind this to be snagging them in the gills, you know, and to be basically hurting the fish. You know, 9 times out of 10, when you're throwing a spinnerbait and they're eating it, they get it, and you don't have to worry about the trailer hook, right? Especially if it's a spinnerbait that's more in that medium to slow retrieve, okay? Now, when we start getting into our faster moving spinnerbaits, right? So we're burning it, we're moving it really fast. A lot of times you're fishing it so quick that the fish are they're reacting to it, and sometimes they just miss it. They might be behind it, they might be off it slightly. So this would be a good idea to add just a trailer hook off the back, just to get some of those short strikers, right? So for me, on spinnerbait trailers, I generally just stick with either the Owner or the Ryugi. Doesn't matter. Whatever you guys like is fine, okay? But any of these will be good. The one tip that I will tell you is, you'll get a lot of hooks that are they come with this tubing like this, right? So when you attach these trailers onto the shank of the bait, so you'll see a lot of trailer hooks like this that'll have this kind of tubing on the eye of the hook like that, right? And it's designed for you to put it over and it'll just kind of attach like this. Now this is a good idea to do it just like this if you're fishing around a lot of cover, right? So if you need a trailer hook and you're bringing this through a lot of wood, that kind of stuff, it's a good idea to use it just like this, because what that will do is it will keep that hook very stiff and in that same position, and it'll just follow everything around and it won't be wandering and snagging. Now, if you're fishing open water, let's take that little tube off, okay? And let's slide that hook on and let's leave it free sliding. And then we can just use that tube to just keep it on the shank like that, okay? So that it's free sliding. And I much prefer this when I can get away from that. And the reason is when you get a fish on that trailer hook, then it doesn't have the leverage of that spinnerbait to shake the hook. It's free swinging, so if they're just barely hooked, no matter what the spinnerbait does, it's not working that hook out. They got it, right? So there's my trailer hook setup. I would say probably maybe 10% of the time I'm using it. If I'm burning the spinnerbait, probably 70% of the time. But for the rest of the time, hardly ever. But when you need it, really important to have, there you go, trailer hook. Now, as far as soft plastic trailers, there's not a right or wrong to this, right? So whatever you guys like or whatever's working for you is great. For me, when I think of a soft plastic trailer on a spinnerbait, I want it to add something to the spinnerbait, right? The spinnerbait, out of the package are pretty dope. So they don't need a lot. It already has the flash, it has the color, right? So the only time I really add a trailer is if I need to maybe alter the color a little bit, or if I need to create a different profile or give the bait a different action to create something that I can't do without a trailer. Okay, so if I need to just alter the color, right? So let's say I've got this kind of, all shaddy type profile, and I feel like I just need a little pop of color. Maybe I need a little chartreuse or something like that. Then I just go super simple, and I just put on, either an OSP Action trailer or just an old school Zoom split tail trailer. Okay, simple. There's not a lot of bulk to these baits, but they'll just allow me to put it on there, add just a little hit of color, and that way I get a little chartreuse or a little white or a little whatever it is, but I can still fish the bait pretty much the same. It's not going to alter the action of the bait. It's just allowing me to give a little pop of color. The other time I'll use a trailer like this is a lot of times when you're burning a bait, right? So you're fishing a bait really fast. A lot of times they're coming up and missing it, and you can add a trailer hook. Sometimes they still miss it, right? Because a lot of times they're just kind of sucking at it, and there's just not a lot of bait there for them to suck and get in their mouth. So if I'm still missing them after I added the trailer, and sometimes I'll take the trailer off and I'll just add a little Zoom split tail trailer, this little OSP Action trailer, and then it just gives it a little bit of body to the bait so that when they suck it in, there's something there for them to get. Okay, the other type of trailer I will use every once in a while is a paddle tail trailer. Now, these are the OSP Dolive Shads. A lot of you guys like to use the K-Tech. It doesn't matter. Whatever you like is fine. I like the Dolive Shad. This seems to be a great spinnerbait trailer. 4-inch is usually my normal size. Now, I will add a swim bait to it when I need to kind of slow the bait down and just give it more bulk. It's going to give it more body. It's going to give it a little bit of wag in the back. And it's basically just going to take a spinnerbait and it's just going to increase the size of what the fish are seeing. Okay, it's maintaining the same flash, but I'm just giving it a little more size and allowing myself to fish it a little bit slower because there's more plastic now to pull through the water. So if you guys want to slow it down, you want to bulk it up a little bit, this is a great option for you to try. I don't do it that often, but sometimes they just want a bigger bait. Maybe they're feeding on gizzard shad or bluegill or something like that. They just need a little bit bigger profile. Adding a paddle tail can be a great option for you. All right, and then the trailer that I use probably the most is one that I've talked about this a lot. This is made by Teckel. This is the Sprinker spare tail. Now this tail was actually designed to be a spare tail for their Sprinker frog, but it makes an amazing trailer on a swim jig, on a buzzbait, on a spinnerbait. Now, there are times when I want that bait to be really high in the column, right? So I want it to be just on the surface, but they're not reacting to the burn, okay? So you can add this Sprinker tail to the back, right? Very simply. And what that will do is that will allow you to keep the spinnerbait just under the surface. You can keep it very, very high, but because this is putting out a lot of vibration, it's catching a lot of water, it kind of lifts the bait up and it lets you fish it at a slower speed while maintaining it really high in the column. And this can be super deadly when the fish are either really shallow or when you have weed lines and you only have a little bit of, space, or if the bait gets too deep, it's snagging in grass, that kind of stuff. It's an amazing trick just to kind of alter the speed of the bait. So we made a video on the SV3 spinnerbait when it came out, and it released like kind of late in the fall, and the fish were more aggressive. They were higher in the column, and the SV3 by nature, right, wants to kind of sink down. We used this technique to kind of lift the bait up and allow us to fish it underneath the surface. So if you guys want to check that out, Jeff will put a link to that video up here. You can see exactly what we're doing, but basically we're just attaching it with a swivel, little CPS spring, a couple of stoppers. It's a very quick add, but it completely alters the action, and this is one that I'll use a lot just because I can make one bait do two totally separate things now. All right, and then quickly let's talk about our rod, reel, and line. Now, we get asked all the time on rods, hey, I need a good spinnerbait / chatterbait rod, right? This is the one thing that seems to be in everybody's mind because spinnerbait has a blade, chatterbait has a blade, right? So we just kind of assume like, the same rod does both. But for me, they're very different rods. With the chatterbait, I want the rod to be real soft, more like a crankbait rod, because a chatterbait doesn't really have any give or flex to it. So I need my rod to kind of give and flex so that it kind of yin and yangs out, right? Now, on the flip side, spinnerbait has a lot of flex to it already inherent in it, right? So we've hooked them, and this thing is already going to kind of give a little bit to the fish as they're fighting and pulling. So I don't want the rod to have a lot of give, right? So generally what I'm looking for in a rod is I'm looking for something that's a little faster in action, a medium heavy to a heavy, depending on the weight of the spinnerbait. Something that's a faster action is good. I want the rod to be powerful since my spinnerbait is kind of flexing and bending. That way I've got that kind of yin and yang. Now the spinnerbait rod that I have basically switched to for everything is the Megabass Destroyer P5, the Dark Sleeper rod. So I will use either the Dark Sleeper or the Mad Bull depending on the size of the spinnerbait. Basically what this rod is kind of a swim jig rod. So it's a true medium heavy, it's fast, but it still bends slightly down the rod, okay? It's definitely not soft, but it bends a little bit deeper than like a true jig and worm rod would. And the reason that I like that is because I'm burning so much. A lot of times things just happen so fast and they get it, and I still want that rod to absorb a little bit of time before I'm yanking back on them. So I like the rod to just have slight give to it, but then still be very fast so that when I hit them, it's a hard contact and then I can pull them out and the rod isn't like overly squishy like a crankbait rod would be. As far as reels go, Typically for me, it's either a 6-to-1 or a 7-to-1, just depending on what it is that I'm doing. 7-to-1 is probably the most versatile. Most spinnerbaits, you can fish any speed without them kind of rolling on their side. I'll go to a 6-to-1 when I really want to slowly crawl it on the bottom. Some guys even like a 5-to-1. So there's no right or wrong here, but anything in there based on how you're going to throw it. If you just want an all-around, you know, speed for doing everything, I would do either 6-to-1 or 7-to-1. Line for me is generally 14 or 16 pound. I throw straight fluoro. I like the fluoro. It doesn't make any noise under the water, and it's just perfect with the rod and reel combo I use. I like Sunline FC Sniper. It's limp, it casts well, and 14 to 16 pound is generally an all-purpose line. All right, guys. That is a wrap on my favorite spinnerbaits and techniques that we use to catch fish on spinnerbaits. I hope that was useful. Sorry that was long, Jeff. I love talking about spinnerbaits. We should do this way more often than
we should go fishing now.
Let's do it. All right, guys, if you have any questions, drop me a question down below in the comments. Jeff will leave links to all these, everything we talked about. So if you guys want to check any of them out closer, you can. I hope you guys crush them this spring on a spinnerbait. It's so fun to use. So guys, until the next time, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your business and your support. Good luck to you. Go jack them on spinnerbaits. I think we should do the same, Jeff.
All
right, let's go. Let's go fishing. Till next time, guys. Peace.